Hey, yo.
What's up?
I feel like you're going to ask me a lot of questions today.
Oh, I'm going to ask you not just questions, but I'm probably going to ask you the right questions.
The right questions.
Right?
Correct. Today's all about asking the right questions versus seeking all the answers. Because there's a lot of noise, let's call it, out there in the market today between podcasts and videos and all sorts of people that are offering advice. What we're going to do is challenge you to ask the right questions pursuant to your own situation today.
Yeah. And Adam, to be very, very straight, when I have conversations with you, the most profound conversations would be when I'm left with more questions than answers.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I think, like you said, there is a lot of noise, especially around finance, a lot of financial heads, blog posts, articles, etc., that all proclaim to have the answer.
Totally.
When really, it's you that are dealing with your life. And so I think the best thing that we can do is, like you said, pose the right questions and have you discover for yourself, without the noise of everything else. Not that you won't identify with any of those, but at least you get to be the architect and author and in control.
So much of this resonates with me, especially in the work that I've done on college campuses and you've done on college campuses. When a young person comes up to me and says, I have $1,000, where should I put it?
Yeah.
Hardest question for me to answer, because what they're asking is different for everybody. Mm-hmm. Some people are asking about, where would I put my money to be most secure? Some people are saying, how can I double my money?
Yep.
Some people are saying, I want to start a business, so what should I spend this $1,000 on?
Yeah.
And it's such a different answer depending on where the question comes from. Mm-hmm. But the question generally is so generic. Yep. It's like, well, where should I put $1,000? I can't just say, although I could say this, because this is one of my favorite sayings.
Yep.
The fastest way to double your money, fold it in half and put it back in your pocket, right?
Yep.
That is not the answer that I give. But what we want to convey on this show is asking the right question is so important, because the answer you get is going to change dramatically based on the question. Yep. So know where you're coming from. If you were asking questions about how much you need to invest to get to a millionaire status, it's also important to know, are you an employee who intends to work for someone for the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. Are you an entrepreneur who needs to create some massive, passive, permanent streams of income? All of that will change the way that the answer comes out for you. Yeah, definitely. Right?
Yeah, and it's really, these questions allow you to really get present and connected to who you are and what's important. Like you said, especially around college students, because I do get it a lot as well. They'll say, they'll ask, what job should I take right out of college?
Right.
And it's like, well, first of all, you probably don't want to ask me, because I had 7 before I started my own company. But it was like, I can't give an answer, because my response is always a question. Yes. And it's like, well, what do you want to be doing? Or what completely lights you up? Right. And what I find is that they'll actually get stopped because they haven't done the critical thinking.
Yes.
People really are addicted to answers.
Right.
And it's like a muscle. Your brain is like a muscle that you need to grow and what's the word I'm looking for? You got to pump it.
Yeah.
Pump the brain.
Yeah, you got to work it.
Yeah.
One of the things that maybe this will trigger for you is that if you can find someone in your life that you could surround yourself with, that instead of providing answers all the time, they just feed questions back to you. Mm-hmm. Those people are really valuable. Nick is that for me. I hope to be that for him. I have people in my life that are this way. My dad is this way. Mm-hmm. My friend Mitch Matthews is this way. Yep. They ask really profound questions. And because of the profound questions, you're left with more questions than answers, getting you thinking deeper about what it is you truly want. So this becomes really, really important on a variety of different elements and levels, right?
Yeah. And particularly what we want to, there's one example that comes to mind, is really the perception of worth, right? And as entrepreneurs, if you're an artist or creating something, putting something out there in the world, it can be a very valid desire to know the answer to the question, how much am I worth?
Yeah.
Right? Or what is this worth? Or how much would you pay?
Right.
Right? Which is very externally focused. And, the whole idea of really asking the right questions is to really look inward and be introspective and reflective.
Totally.
And, do you want to elaborate on?
Well, we had a conversation with a woman at the Build a Bigger Life retreat several weeks ago in Sedona, Arizona. And the Build a Bigger Life retreat is all about sort of challenging the notions of who you are at your core, getting aligned with your values, having a bigger vision, asking bigger questions. Making money irrelevant was one of the core tenets. And this particular woman is a designer. She's a brilliant, talented, fabulous designer. But she was challenged by when she says what her services cost, the reaction that people would give. But she was afraid of the reaction. And what I heard in her fear was this question of, am I worth it? Or, someone could go get a logo done for $25. I'm charging significantly more than that. How is that worth it, right? So what we started doing was breaking down what are the questions she's asking herself around her value. Such as, a bigger question might be, what is it worth for a brand to have a really cohesive brand identity package? The logo, all the lettering, the paperwork, the website, all the collateral. What is that worth?
Yep.
And we started talking about, how about Target? What's it worth for Target to have the Target dog and the Target logo and just have the general feel of Target? It's worth millions, probably billions of dollars, right?
Yep.
So with that, it changes what your perception of your own value is.
Yeah.
Using that same designer mentality, I had a friend who was a graphic designer within a company. And she was making $40,000 or $45,000 a year. She was also doing work outside of that environment. And what do you think she was charging for her work?
Probably the same amount that she was used to.
Yeah, roughly what her dollar per hour was
Yep.
within the environment. And I started asking her the same questions. Well, what do you want your time to be worth? And how much is it worth to have this? And what did you pay for your computer and your software and your camera and all that stuff? And once she started answering those questions, it changed what she was putting on her time as far as worth goes.
Yeah, that's good. And another question that I posed to this woman was also, not only what is it worth for these companies to have alignment in their brand, a vision that is consistent with the co-founders, etc. The other question that I thought was really powerful and that I ask myself as well is, what would it cost them to not have that? What would it cost to have clashing of communication and branding? What would it cost to not have a clear vision? How much more time and energy is spent on the sales side when things aren't in alignment or in congruency? Right. Or particularly around finance, what does it cost when when I get present? Because sometimes I can get into like, well, is what I'm doing really making a difference? And I have to ask myself, wow, like, what would people's lives be, or what would clients' lives be like if I had not met them and coached them? Right. How much more in depth would they be? How much more stressed out would they be? What would the impact be on their relationship with their parents or significant other? There's a whole world. But it isn't until I ask that question, like, what would their life be like if they had not met me? Yes. That I really get connected to the worth and value.
Totally. Yeah. So one of the questions that I found most powerful, as it relates to what you're talking about, was a question that was posed. I was looking for, when my wife and I first got married, I was looking for what is the perfect amount of money to have in savings. And I was looking for the answer, right? Yep. And someone said, it was actually a book called Smart Couples Finish Rich by David Bach. And David Bach said, ask your spouse how much do they need in a savings account to feel safe and secure all the time. And when I asked that question, the answer that I got was far different than what I was seeing online. Right? Because online it was, have 1 month, have 3 months, have 6 months worth of expenses. But for my wife, there was a very specific number that she had. And once we hit that number, then everything was copacetic. But I had to ask the right question, not just seek answers online. Make sense?
Got it.
Yeah.
Clear.
So I find that so much of this is around fear. Because people are fearing, particularly around the worth area, they're fearing their value and all those things. Tell me your thoughts around that.
I 100% agree with you. Being 26 years old, being in the traditional financial planner analyst role, there was a conversation that I had with myself. Why would someone with millions of dollars, or why would an Olympic athlete, or why would a celebrity, right, work with someone like me? Not that much experience in terms of years or technical background. And there was a really conversation of like, is what I'm doing, like, can I be charging what I'm charging? Why would, why me? Am I good enough to do this?
Sure.
It was a sense of imposter syndrome for sure. Actually, I was at a comedy show in Des Moines, and Shane Moss was a comedian, and he was talking about imposter syndrome. And it was just like so perfect, because that's what I was dealing with here. It's like, who am I to move from LA to Des Moines? And,
Yeah, right.
Be working with you, Adam Carey.
Yeah.
And he was talking about imposter syndrome. People who study imposter syndrome are like, am I the one to actually do research on imposter syndrome? And it's just like this hilarious loop of like, wow, people are dealing with this.
Wow.
And if everyone's dealing with it, what if we could actually rise above that conversation? What would it look like if we were good enough?
Yes.
Or what would it look like if we didn't even have that question?
Yes.
To chew on.
Right.
Where would we spend our time? How could we make a difference?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. That's amazing. As it relates to imposter syndrome, and granted I have it. There are elements of the business the work that I do and all of that where, as a matter of fact, the very first time someone said, "Oh, well, you're a leader," I was like, "Wait, me? I am?" There was a little bit of imposter syndrome there. And a friend of mine sent me this quote that we want to leave you with, and then we're going to leave you with a challenge. This friend of mine sent me a quote, and it is by Marianne Williamson in A Return to Love. It's always misquoted as being from Nelson Mandela because he read it at his inauguration speech. But it goes like this: our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. You want to read the rest?
Sure. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Wow. So I want to read the last one again. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Meaning, if you are afraid of doing something, liberate yourself from the fear, go do it, and other people will be liberated as a result. So our challenge to you, the question we leave you with today is, what is your deepest fear? What is the thing, if you get really quiet, what are you most afraid of? So is it actually receiving what you are worth? That might be a fear for some people. That there is actually a conviction in you that when you say, I am worth this much, that you will make that much. Some people who are afraid of being loved, what if you just dropped that fear and loved other people and you received it back, thereby opening and liberating other people for the same? It's a pretty amazing thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited to hear what opens up for our explorers.
I am too.
Yeah.
So on the next show, we're going to talk about money and purpose. And so one final question I'll leave you with is, where might you be discounting your value? So not only is what is your deepest fear, but where are there areas of your life where you're discounting the value that you bring? And just think intently and then send us some feedback, whether it be here on the video, down below, or at questions@masteryofmoney.com. We'll answer anything that comes up, obviously on the show as well. So hope you like the show. It is about seeking the right questions, not just going for answers. And tomorrow we're going to talk about money and purpose. Great to see you again. Until tomorrow.
Thanks for
explorers.
listening. Thanks for watching.